We have been journeying through the words of Jesus from the cross through Lent, and we're going to continue to do that in this reflection. And this week we have been looking at John 19 verses 26 to 27, and it's Jesus' words to his mother and the beloved disciple. And it says this: "When Jesus saw his mother there and the disciple whom he loved standing nearby, he said to her, 'Woman, here is your son.' And to the disciple, 'Here is your mother.' From that time on, the disciple took her into his home." And the questions that we ask in these reflections within our small groups are what does this passage tell us about Jesus, and what does it tell us about how we might respond as church family, as a community, and it's amazing, isn't it, that there's these 7 significant words of Jesus that are said from the cross, and more might be said that were never recorded, but there's real theological significance to these words that are shared from Jesus in this grueling experience, this 6 hours on the cross in immense pain, in immense suffering. We still have these powerful words full of just this richness of who Jesus was and what the cross means. And I think in the passage today, I think the first thing I think of when I read these words of Jesus is that, wow, even from the cross, he is compassionate. He is caring for the welfare of others. He deeply cares for his mother. He deeply cares for the disciples, and he is setting them in a family together. But yeah, the first thing I see is that Jesus, he cares for the welfare of the vulnerable, of those that are maybe on their own, that are those that are in deep pain and grief and suffering themselves, that even from the cross he cares for them, and that we might be called to do the same, to care for those that are vulnerable, those that are suffering. But it's amazing how Jesus, from the cross, when we think about what does the cross mean, actually from the cross he is setting and extending what it means to be family further than just blood relations. And he calls his mother woman, which maybe doesn't sound like the way that you respond to a mother. It's not as rude as we think in English, calling somebody woman. It was quite a normal way to address a woman, but it's maybe not quite how you would speak to your mother. And he uses that word as well in the wedding in Cana, and to the Samaritan woman, he uses this word woman. And it doesn't seem like a way that you would speak to your mother. We've also got the story in Matthew 12, 46 to 50, where people come to Jesus and say, "Your mother and your brothers are outside. They're wanting to speak to you." And Jesus says, "Who are my mother and my brothers? Are they not here? The people that do the will of my Father are my mother and my brothers." And I don't think this is out of not caring for his mother and his brothers. He cares deeply. And in these words of Jesus from the cross, we see how deeply he cares for his mother. But he's extending, he's saying, those that do the will of the Father. And from the cross here, those that know me, that believe in me. What made his mother and John able to be family? I think this belief and knowledge of who Jesus was set them in a family. And I think as we consider that actually from the cross, through what Jesus does on the cross, we are accepted, we are invited, we are forgiven, that through that we are set in a new family, in a family that's centered on Jesus, that we're brought together through our belief in Jesus. And we have that beautiful family in our church family. And we see in this passage that John and Mary went on to have that commitment for one another. So I think Jesus is showing us something of what it means to be within his family, that is extended, that we're all invited, and that it calls us to a commitment and a love for one another. That through the cross, Jesus remembers his mother and John, and that he can remember us. And just as this must have been so painful for Mary to be at the cross, seeing Jesus in this way, seeing him suffering, that still he was able to share something that is beautiful and of his kingdom, that he sets us in a family, that he remembers us, and that even in pain, we can wait patiently for his promises to be fulfilled of this new family, of this new kingdom, and that in the pain of the cross, Jesus does a new thing and makes us a new family. I hope as you meet in your small groups, you can explore this passage and these words together in new ways, and just have a really blessed time of thinking of what it was that these words to his mother show of who Jesus was, that shows of what the cross means and how we might respond together.